about something rather abstract, which is biodiversity. But instead of telling you about that, I'll just tell you a few little anecdotes. So, about the elephant, the bumblebee, and the Damara Dikdik. So, first, 10 years ago, I was on holiday visiting my sister who was working in Namibia then. She was a doctor there. And we were driving with our car through the middle of nowhere, the desert country of Namibia. And we had visited a beautiful mountain with paintings and things, Brandberg, the mountain of fire. And just below it there was a camping ground, and we camped there in the evening. Exactly 10 years ago, or nearly, because it was before sunset. Yes, before sunset. So we were sitting there, we had our pumpkin on the fire with some feta cheese inside, and we had a little bit of wine with it. And the food was nearly ready to eat. I was about to get my pumpkin and eat it. And then the guy from the camping came running to us and he said, "The elephants are coming." And I thought, huh? The elephants are coming, what do we do? And then the guy was already running on to the next people to tell them. So I turned to my sister, "Elephants are coming. Isn't that dangerous? What are we supposed to do? Should we get into the car or something?" So she said, "No, I don't know either. I've been here longer, but I've seen some elephants." So then we saw the people gather somewhere in one corner of the camping, so we all walked over there with our wine. And just behind that, the land went down a bit. There was a dry riverbed, because in desert country you have rivers, but there's no water in them usually. And then just when we got there, we saw an elephant actually walking down there, just 50 meters from us. The elephant just passed, and he went around the corner and he left. And then then after that elephant went away, there was another elephant came, and he just passed us, and it didn't even look at us. He walked with his kind of stiff gait that they walk. They don't really run there, but elephants, they have really long legs, so they look like they don't go very fast, but if you're actually standing there and you see them move, they're actually really fast. And then there was two more elephants, and then there was another elephant. So from being really scared and wondering what's going on, yeah, then all the elephants just passed by, and we heard that these elephants, they come by there more often. And elephants in the desert, they're a bit special because elephants need a lot of water. So what they do, they go to a hole where there's water, a water hole, and they drink all the water. And then elephants are very strong, they can dig, so they dig the hole deeper. And they drink more water, the mud, they spout the mud over them. And then there's nothing left, and then they walk on. So they're always walking to the next water hole. That's what the elephants do in the desert. But then they leave the hole, the hole is deepened, and so all the other animals can get water there now. So the most destructive animal creates the conditions for the other animals to live in the desert. Now the really most destructive animal is ourselves, of course, the humans. And that's the second story, that's the bumblebee. When I was sitting in the garden just a few years ago, the daughters of my sister, 3 years and 5 years, they were running around wild in the garden with sticks hitting things, and they were chasing the birds away. And then I sat there was a flower that my parents had special flowers, and they attract the bees like magnets. There's always bees sitting there. So it's beautiful. And they just ran up to the bees and they chased them away also. So I was really sad. I thought, this is bad. I told them to be quiet and come here, girls, and sit down quiet and wait for the bees to come back and watch them. Because they're really beautiful. They're sitting there in the flower and they're getting their food from inside. And it worked. I could convince them without really trying very much. And then we noticed there were 3 different kinds of bumblebees. And I also told them, actually, these bees, they're really important because, like the elephants, that I didn't tell them, the bees, actually they're looking after us, because all the fruit that we eat, it's only, the farmers can only grow that because of the bees. So we depend on the bees. And they were really, they sat there for half an hour, which is for 3- and 5-year-old kids is really eternity. And they were just really interested. Now the last story is the story about the Damara Dikdik. That's an animal I always wanted to see when I was a child. When I was a child, we went to South Africa, and then we went to nature reserves, and we saw all the animals there, and you learn that the first day you're in a nature reserve, you see nothing, because you haven't learned to look yet. You're driving through there, and you're just staring, and you see all the grass and the trees, but you don't see the animals. And then at some point, there's an impala. And then after some time you find out there's impalas everywhere. and then you start seeing some other animals, and after some time you're kind of acceptable, and you see a lot of animals. But the people that really know to look, they see much more. So we always had a little book to look up these animals, and the one animal that was never there was this Damara Dikdik, and I thought that was the coolest name. I wanted to see the Damara Dikdik, but of course we were in South Africa, and you had to go to Damara land to see the Damara Dikdik. And when I was in Namibia, that was Damara land, and there at Waterberg, Water Mountain, that's the same place where the Herero tribe, which was in 1912, they were the biggest tribe of Namibia. They were exterminated, annihilated. Their army was, the Germans, there was a German colony then, and the Germans fought with them and then sent them into the desert, and most of them died. So it was a really sad place. But I went for a walk there on the side of that mountain, and it was beautifully cool, and there are trees growing there, and a very small, narrow road, and there, just next to the path, behind the bush, there was this little animal, the Damara Dikdik, with 2 little straight horns, and he's got these big bulging eyes, and he's got a strange little nose, and then there's kind of little glands, black glands below the eyes, as if it's tears coming out. And he was looking around at me like this, as if he wanted to ask me a question. What are all these people in the world doing with the world? Why are you messing it up like that? Or was he, maybe it was a prophecy, or maybe it was just a question, or maybe it was a request. It was a magic moment to Damara Dikdik.
As a member of Toastmasters for 3.5 years, one of the things that I always really love about being in a club for so long is that you can see the progress of people. And Nichol, you brought magic to our meeting with that story, and I think that's probably the best speech I've heard you give. Thank you very much. So if anyone has any comments for Nichol's speech.
I agree.
Okay, so you have 1 minute.